Hi there, everyone. Dr. Jason here, and today I'm going to talk about Dr. Joe Dispenza's new documentary called Source It's Within You. And basically, this film is a highlight of the years of research behind all of the participants in his meditation retreats. And today I'm going to focus really on the science of the biofield and how coherence healing, or what we call energy healing, seems to be ubiquitous across many different types of modalities, and how consciousness might be the fundamental driver of all of these therapeutic effects. So, if you haven't seen Source, I highly recommend that you watch it to really get a good idea. There's a lot of amazing research and data put into it. So, this video, I'm just going to focus on the biofield because that's my particular specialty, and let's jump right into it. So, in this documentary, we have Charles here. So, Charles was a doctor. He was diagnosed with a severe form of bone marrow cancer, and he went through multiple rounds of chemotherapy, and it did not really move the needle. And so he went to Dr. Joe's retreats, and at his second coherence healing, he experienced these profound emotional states, mystical states, and it truly was transformative. So much so that his cancer spontaneously went into remission. And as a doctor himself, he couldn't really believe it. So what is coherence? How is that connected to the biofield, and how does this all seem to happen? So first of all, let's understand what coherence healing is. So I'm fairly new to it. I know Dr. Joe's work more on the meditation side, but not as much about coherence healing. So from my understanding, coherence healing is basically when you have a group of people where they achieve a very high elevated state of heart-brain coherence, right? And we understand when you achieve a high coherence, you create a large electromagnetic field that emanates from the body. And using the intention, these groups of healers, these groups of coherence healers, directs this healing field, this energy towards a healee, towards a person of need, and that's what Charles went through. Okay, and there is some science, some very credible and fascinating science behind this. And coherence healing falls under the category of what's called biofield therapies. Okay, so the biofield is basically this term that was proposed in 1992 by a committee for CAM practitioners, which is complementary alternative medicine, which is now renamed to the NCCIH, the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health in the United States. And this included different energy therapies such as Reiki, therapeutic touch, external Qigong, etc. And they defined the biofield as this massless field, not necessarily electromagnetic, that surrounds and permeates all living bodies and affects the body. Okay, so the biofield is not woo woo, right? Energy healing, as the mystical roots may sound, it is not as woo as before. There's a lot of research and science behind it. Just look at the VA's website, right? It talks about energy medicine and biofield therapies, right? And we understand that the biofield is not new, right? In traditional Chinese medicine, we've had acupuncture with these acupuncture meridians moving this chi or energy in the body that's supposed to support health and vitality. In the Vedas, in the Hindu tradition, for thousands of years, understood that there were these nadis. Again, they were channels for energy to flow through the body to help support health and healing. And of course, one of my favorite organizations, the Consciousness Healing Initiative, right, calls the biofield as this field of energy and information that is an additional means of self-regulation to maintain health. So that's what the biofield is, right? It's a field of energy and information. And what is interesting about this study is I wrote a Substack article here, and part of it, they also did a study using coherence healing on cell lines. Okay, so in this first diagram here, we have a group of coherence healers, and they're sitting next to an incubator of cells, petri dishes of cells, of course. And for the control cells, we wouldn't see anything change, right? Because control cells are stable. and then compared to breast cancer cells. And we understand what cancer cells do, right? They want to grow and multiply. And what's fascinating is that Dr. Hamal Patel, who was one of the principal investigators in the study, showed that when the coherence healers did their work, there was a noticeable drop in these breast cancer cell metabolic activity as measured by oxygen consumption rate. So this was about a 25% drop, which is pretty significant, right? Pretty significant for just a group of people, meditating and setting good intentions and vibes, right? And not shown in the documentary, Dr. Patel mentioned that when the group of healers started working, something quite interesting happened. So the incubator is set at a steady, I believe, 37 degrees Celsius. And when they started doing the coherence healing, that temperature dropped to 36.9 degrees Celsius, which might not seem like a lot, but when they stopped doing the coherence healing, that temperature rose back up to 37 degrees Celsius, where it's supposed to be at. So, as he says, there's something happening that he can't see, that he can't feel, but he knows something is happening. So, these groups of coherence healers are producing not only an effect on these breast cancer cell lines, literally suppressing its metabolic activity, but also it seems to affect the electronics, right? The incubator itself. So it points back to not only my hypothesis, but the tradition, the way of thinking that many ancient cultures and traditions have been talking about for thousands of years, is that consciousness is truly the driver of not only of what we feel emotionally, of not only what we think through our thoughts, but through the sheer physical world that we see and experience. Okay. So let's take this to another level. So in another 2-hour talk outside of the film source, Dr. Amal Patel talks about a follow-up to this, original experiment and tested on different types of cancer cell lines. So we have lung cancer, breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, and basically how you read this chart is proliferation. So the lower the bar, the less that it grew and proliferated. So and we can tell, and based on what he told us, right, there was a statistically significant reduction in these cancer cell lines after coherence healing. Okay, so that is truly remarkable, right? Because these cells have no mind, right? They can't be affected by the placebo effect, right? How is this happening? How is this happening? So this connects back to another study that I have talked about on my Instagram, which is a study out of MD Anderson Cancer Center, which basically they tested a biofield healer. He's using the Bengtson healing method on pancreatic cells. So what's unique about this study is that they hooked up this EEG brain scan on the biofield healer, but also simultaneously measured the real-time changes in intracellular calcium levels. And what they found was when the biofield healer started working on these cells, that corresponding brainwave shift when he started working corresponded to shifts. And when I say shifts, I mean reduced intracellular calcium levels in these pancreatic cancer cells, which is very important because reduced intracellular calcium levels reflects reduced metastatic spread. So the cancer becomes less pervasive. So this is quite fascinating, right? And it points back to the fundamental idea that consciousness is truly driving these changes, right? At least it has to, right? Because if you're not consciously intending for this in these practices, although there's many different types of practices through many different tools and techniques and how you can go through the process, all of them rely on consciousness. And as a pranic healer myself, the biofield therapy that I'm trained in, it teaches us that truly where your attention goes, energy flows. And we're seeing this. We're seeing this in repeatable, really measurable biological effects on cells. And this comes back to help us explain sort of the miracles, right, that was highlighted in the film Source with Charles with his cancer. And of course, there is many case studies on coherence healing and how that's helped many other people. And in general, we know that there are many different types of biofield therapies, right? Reiki, qigong, therapeutic touch, right? I practice pranic healing, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, to hundreds of thousands of testimonials, I'm sure, across all of these different types of biofield therapies. And the question to ask ourselves is like, okay, if this appears to be working, and there's a pretty steady preliminary evidence for it, what's really going on, right? Is it quantum entanglement? Is, as Dr. Joe says, are we accessing a quantum field, right, where this there's endless possibilities, and through our heart brain coherence, through achieving a certain emotional state, right, we change our biology. But not only do we change our biology, you can affect other people, right, through the coherence healing, as we have seen. So even in practices, even in practices such as acupuncture, right? They call the acupuncturist or any, doctor, they call it the Ling Shu, which is the pivot between heaven and earth, which is, again, you're just a channel. And a lot of these energy healing practices teach that the practitioner is simply just the channel. It is simply just the funnel for receiving this energy, for this the source energy, and projecting it with positive intentions towards the patient, towards the client, towards the healee, to help improve their health. So so again, really, this documentary for me, I wasn't expecting the biofield part, because that's what excites me. Because I believe that the biofield, this field of invisible energy and information, is really the bridge between what we call science and spirituality, right? If there's an objective way we can measure what consciousness is doing for not only our physical body, but how that directs and projects onto another human being, right? And of course, we're starting at very small levels using cell lines that are repeatable, but it can explain why some of these miraculous health transformations go beyond placebo, right? Because we understand placebo is in everything, and it's something that we can't escape. Is if consciousness is truly fundamental, right? Then placebo's everywhere. If you have a good intention, that's already projecting certain energy and a certain impression on the person that you're working with. So again, I understand that there's certain limits to placebo, and a lot of these studies, you need to have these randomized placebo-controlled trials to really prove its efficacy. But my argument and my case for this video is that we are certainly just scratching the surface using the science. And as a practitioner in biofield therapies, as someone that is so heavily interested in the science, I think this is the next level for human potential, not only for health and healing, but for our overall evolution in consciousness, right? Because this will change medicine forever, right? To find out that consciousness is the true driver of our health, and that will change the way that we will go about literally everything. And it's not like we're gonna have to ditch diet, exercise, and sleep, but it's gonna be another pillar, as I say, to whole person health, right? Whole person health, which is basically we have to incorporate all these different factors when it comes to understanding the development of disease and the prevention for good health. So that's all for this video. I highly recommend everyone to watch Source. It's a great documentary. It's filled with science and data if you're a nerd like me. And comment down below. What are your thoughts on the film? What are your thoughts on coherence healing? What are your thoughts on biofield therapies? Leave your comment or question down below. I will reply to them personally. And if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe and join this channel, as I'm trying to build a evidence-based community that supports the science behind biofield therapies. And hopefully we can reach one day where everyone's practicing this, right? And imagine the change in the world if we understood and knew and applied that consciousness can not only change your health, but someone else's health. That's it for now. Take care, my friends, and I will see you in the next video.